It is time for Key's Real Rankings. Key, these are the best teams in the NFL. Here we are in Week 12.
Yes, that is correct. In my real rankings, everybody has their own rankings and what they think teams are. I'm sure Mike Tannenbaum, Jay Will, and yourself will, have something to say about the way things are. But let's knock it down, Yates.
Number 7.
So it's 7 teams this week. Last week it was 8. Tennessee was sitting at 8. They're not in the top 7. Cincinnati Bengals, your team with Joe Burrow. Max is certainly sitting in the top 7 this week. Last week they were not in it, but they seem to be hitting their stride without Jamar Chase in the lineup. They're still throwing the ball all over a lot, doing some things with Joe Burrow, getting out of there with a W this past week.
Number 6.
Number 6, things don't change from last week. Buffalo Bills on a tough call over Thanksgiving against the Detroit Fighting Lions and Dan Campbell. They win that victory after 2 straight games in Detroit. They sit at 6. Nothing changes there.
Number 5.
And number 5 doesn't change at all again. The Miami Dolphins took care of business against the Texans. They were 5 last week. They're 5 again this week. There's only 7 teams in this week's real ranking. Tua's playing amazing. The offense is doing great. This team is on poise to do something, hopefully, during the postseason.
Tua's playing amazing.
Number 4.
Number 4, does it change again from last week? The San Francisco 49ers sit at 4. They took care of business against the Arizona Cardinals. I think they certainly are going to give Cliff Kingsbury his walking papers at the end of the year based on the way we see things. Not calling for him to get fired. Not my job. He's doing it himself.
Number 3.
Now, this is where it gets very interesting. Things change. This is where the controversy starts. Right? Last week at number 3 with the Philadelphia Eagles. This week I put the Kansas City Chiefs in there. Look, it wasn't a great victory over the Rams. The Rams are a banged-up team, broken down team. Sean McVay looks like he's 75 years old now. When he was People's Magazine's top 100 most beautiful in the world.
Most beautiful babies.
Yes,
and now
always.
Now he's
75 years old. The team is certainly worn on him. Kansas City's still in the top 3. They just fell a little bit.
This list is terrible.
It's horrible.
What a terrible list. Boo.
Of course,
Boo.
James Steele, our producer, Kansas City Chief fan, doesn't agree with me. Sitting at number 2, Yates.
Number 2.
The Philadelphia Eagles. How can Philadelphia? They got 1 loss. There's no way they should be number 2. They should be number 1. They beat Green Bay. Yeah, they beat the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers gets hurt and doesn't finish the game. Jordan Love comes in. Jalen Hurts puts himself at number 2 in the MVP conversation. It's a really good football team, no question about it. But right now, as it stands, I don't know if they're better than the number 1 team.
Number 1.
And the number 1 team, the Dallas Cowboys. Michael Parsons and company, along with Dak Prescott. They're going to probably pick up OBJ to add some more firepower to the offense. Ezekiel Elliott and Pollard. CeeDee Lamb, if he can hold on to the football, he'll be a real good lamb to chop, so to speak, for you to eat up. Hey, that's it. Simple and plain. The Cowboys, the Eagles, Kansas City, San Francisco, the Miami Dolphins, Buffalo, Cincinnati. You can argue all you want about the way the real rankings look this week, because next week, there's no telling who's in there.
Oh, we will argue. These rankings are brought to you by Dell. For your small business needs, call Dell Technologies Advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. As you heard Key mention, Mike Tannenbaum, ESPN NFL front office insider, is with us here at the Seaport. Good morning, Mike.
Rhinestone Cowboy.
So Jay is champing at the bit to go at Key's list. What about you?
I just every week, Mike. This is what we have to endure here.
I just want to know what team's supposed to be where. Help me.
How can Kansas City not be number 1? You had the number 1 last week. You're the only person I know that knocks a team down for winning
by 2
games.
touchdowns. And
They played.
Oh, you guys didn't win by 50, so I'm going to knock you down 3.
They struggled to beat the Rams in the red zone. They couldn't even score. Like, serious.
So Dallas lost to Green Bay 2 weeks ago.
But that was 2 weeks ago. This is this week.
I can't, Mike.
This week.
Mike,
there's a Cowboy infatuation that we have here on this Keyshawn Johnson. Did you play for the Cowboys or did you not?
Look, with your
cup of coffee.
Have a cup of yes coffee. Or no question. Got me up here like Don Lemon. Is yes or no question?
Kind of look like him a little bit now that I think about it.
Jeez.
Curtis Granderson, I think. Mike, I'm very relieved that Key has Cowboys number 1, and so many people are now taking them to win the Super Bowl. I was nervous early in the year when no one was taking them, because every year people take them and they never win. I was thinking, no one's taking them. They might win. That Key has them rated so high gives me comfort as a Giants fan. What do you think of his rankings?
I'll say this about Dallas. Like, I think they have the highest ceiling. Like, if everyone played their A game, people don't understand. Like, Dak Prescott, since he's been back, they're number one in the NFL in points.
Yes.
And then you have Micah Parsons and everything on defense.
Yes.
So I think their A game is really interesting.
What is Dak Prescott's ceiling? Is it what it was 2 years ago? Is it a different ceiling?
He's a top 6 quarterback, in my opinion.
Man, that dude can
he's
spit
very
it
accurate.
out,
Top
Mike.
6 quarterback?
Man, he can spit it out,
He's
Jay.
a top. Wait,
Yes.
time out. He's a top 6 quarterback?
Yes.
Yeah, give me 6 that you would take before him.
Patrick Mahomes,
Oh, God, don't start
Josh
this
Allen, Justin
conversation again.
Herbert, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson is 5 off the top of my head. I would
That's
still
not-
take Aaron Rodgers
I'm not
as
gonna-
6.
Nah, see, I'm
I
not
would
gonna-
still
What are you
take
talking
Tom
about?
Brady
I'm
as
not gonna do
7.
that.
Rodgers.
Yeah.
For what? Are we playing golf? Or what?
He came off
Jeopardy.
back-to-back MVP seasons. He's had a broken
Yeah.
thumb. And
Back-to-back
and he just
MVP.
came off back-to-back losses too, probably.
No, I'm not. But still, in the big scheme of things,
No,
I'll still
I'm
take
not.
Aaron Rodgers.
Right now, I'm probably
Jalen
not.
Hurts.
No, I'm probably not. I'm
I'm taking
6?
Jalen Hurts. I'm taking Tua.
We have conversations
I'm not-
about him
I'm not
being
doing
top
that.
10.
I'm taking Jalen Hurts in a heartbeat.
I'm sorry, Mike. I just top 6. Just really.
Look how he's playing. Just he has great accuracy, great anticipation, and not all completions are the same.
Exactly.
Do you see like the run after catches that because he is extremely accurate and look, they're number 1 in the league scoring, and they don't even have a great bunch of receivers. So I think this team is again on any. We know anything can happen, but if every team played their best game, they're the Super Bowl champs.
Well, anything could happen, but so given all that, it's a miserable failure if they don't make a deep playoff run, right? Like miserable failure.
You know what we
Be
talking
careful.
about?
This is Max setting it up
Right.
now.
You know what's really interesting that could happen? We were talking about this earlier. Is round 1 of the playoffs, and this is why the NFL is the NFL. Dallas will be a road favorite at Tampa Bay because let's just say Philly holds on to the division.
Yeah.
Dallas has to go on the road in round 1, and they'll likely have to go to Tampa, and they'll be favored as the road team.
Yeah,
Don't
that's a
let Tom
cupcake,
Brady
though.
knock him out in the first round.
Dallas
Don't
would
let that
destroy Tampa.
happen.
Though. I mean, Tampa's O-line is decimated.
Dallas
man.
At the
is
moment.
Dallas is a really good football team.
Agreed.
And part of the problem is with Dak Prescott, he has a little bit of the Kirk Cousins sort of feel to people. That's why they always, the moment you say he's really good, what do you mean? It's like, no, man, this dude really is good. He spits the ball out a certain way, and that is important. When you're in your stride and you're catching the football and you're not breaking stride, like Mike was talking about with him, that's the type of quarterback you want. Now, you talk about Kansas City dropping the 3, Jay. They struggled in the red zone against the Rams, okay? Philadelphia's sitting at 2. I like it, but I think the Cowboys with Dak Prescott coming up, I think they played December 18th, I believe. They play the Eagles. I think they're going to wind up beating Philadelphia at home in Texas Stadium. So I'm giving you an early look
Christmas
at
Eve.
Christmas Eve. Yeah, Christmas Eve. So I'm looking at them beating them in Dallas.
Can I bring up one other team from that division, like sneaky under the radar?
Commanders.
I brought it up yesterday. I was talking about it.
Yeah,
I already knew it.
and when we talk about like leadership and problem solving, like Ron Rivera to me is as much of a coach of the year candidate. Like he is like talking about like a battlefield commander. I think Coach Rivera is doing an unbelievable job. And by the way, they don't even have Chase Young yet, and they're playing really
He's
good.
a
looked
poor
up-
man's Mike Tomlin or Harbaugh, or like his teams always compete. Maybe they're not winning Super Bowls, but Rivera teams compete every single year.
I looked up and they were 7-5. I'm like,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
And the Giants are wiped out by injury too, so the Commanders are going to get healthy as the Giants are getting hurt.
And
look,
Brian Robinson's been a beast too, man. The way they've been running the ball has been
Yeah,
legit.
and just given all the things that they deal with off the field, the fact that in this day and age where distractions are so pronounced, like I just think it says so much about Ron Rivera's leadership and character that they're
the Commanders.
And how about Taylor Heineke? Them actually playing for Taylor Heineke. It's not Carson Wentz. Like,
Well,
I
that's
don't
the
know
main
why-
thing. It's not Carson Wentz.
Well, I
The
give
team
Ron
usually
Rivera
responds
credit.
when it's
Like,
not
look,
Carson.
I didn't like the move where he went to Carson Wentz, but the fact he was able to pivot, though, Mike, I give him a lot of credit for that.
Hey,
No.
Key,
Yeah.
we here are not the only ones with criticism of your list. Will in Connecticut has something to say.
Oh, God.
Will,
Yes.
you are
it's
on the
your time,
air.
bro.
Hey, good morning, guys.
How you
Good
doing?
morning.
Hey, I just wanted to respond to Key about his list. You got Dallas up there at number 1. Dallas is a very talented team, but they also a very highly undisciplined team. Almost every year they lead in the leagues in penalties. I can't see them being better than Philly or the Chiefs. Chiefs is definitely the number 1 team. Philly is definitely playing like the number 2 team in the league. And Dallas, we know who Dallas is. They're a good regular season team every year.
We're not in the playoffs yet, though. So, in
Trying to capture the moment.
The penalties haven't come to get them yet. Same thing with Mike McCarthy. In-game decisions haven't come to get them yet. Yeah. So So where we're at right now, as it stands today, you can't tell me that they're not the best football team in the NFL today.
They have Micah Parsons,
next week,
too.
They may not be.
Micah Parsons makes it feel different to me because I think they got the best player in football. Like, you could argue he's the best player in football, and they have him. They didn't have a guy like that before.
But when you get into playoffs, like, it comes down to details, and it comes down to those critical moments. So that's when habits come out. So when you lead the league in penalties for 2 years straight, like, that's not a hard bet.
You're right.
I agree with you, but guess what? The playoffs don't start today. So by the time they get